So what was the homework assignment this week?
Broken glass. A broken ornament.
It was the ornament that didn't make it for Christmas. Again, a homework assignment that isn't necessarily inspirational. But it was interesting because I give out these homework assignments and the students oftentimes go, what does he want us to do with that? And lo and behold, sometimes they're the biggest breakthroughs with students. And I've given this homework assignment to every student this week. And I have gotten so many interesting stories, both from people who chose not to do it for whatever reason, and there's more of people that chose not to do it, and really wonderful stories of people that did. One of my students that ended up doing it, she didn't want to do it, to think about a broken ornament, but she was at Macy's, and she was waiting in line, and she was looking at all the Christmas ornaments, and she looked at the line, how long it would be, and she really got upset. And she got upset on the whole commercialism of Christmas. She just really thought all this money, all this hoopla, she kind of became angry. When you're doing art, you're really alive. You really feel passionate about something. And so she was just kind of feeling frustrated. So she put the ornament down and she went over to the dollar store. And in the dollar store, they had these wonderful glass Santas, these wonderful glass hand-blown Santas for $1. And what she does for a living is she repairs porcelain dolls. And so she spends her whole life carefully renovating things that are broken. And so she went home with this big glass Santa, and she had a real problem breaking it. Because she spends her whole life fixing things like this. And then she remembered how angry she was at all the Christmas stuff. And so she brought that anger, laid it down, and popped it open. It was glass, so just popped right open and painted this broken Santa. And she spent about 2.5 hours painting it. And again, she's invested in the light, she's invested in the table. And she said it was really an incredible experience. The painting itself is magnificent. It really is magnificent. I really should put some of these paintings up on my website because it was a beautiful, and you could tell it was broken. One of the other students she tossed the ornament down and it kind of exploded. She was kind of surprised. So she ended up painting the shards so it looked like it exploded. And so, and here you had artistic decisions made with a subject matter that necessarily wasn't something that you would want to do. So I had talked to Levon last night, and I said, so did you do the homework assignment? And what did you say?
No.
No? And why not?
Because I didn't want another Christmas painting.
Okay. So you didn't want another Christmas painting. So you didn't want to have a thing laying around that you had to pull out and pull in. Now, first thing I would say is that a really magnificent painting with good lighting, which is what we just discussed about, that is more important than whether or not it's a subject matter. It might be the subject matter of a Christmas bulb, but it doesn't need to be put away because the painting itself is about the effect of light, the story, and all the other elements. This Christmas Santa that was broken was actually a beautiful painting that I said you'd want to see all year round. So what would be another reason why you didn't want to do it?
Because I had trouble getting my lighting up around the deck, and that's what I was going to use as my backdrop with a bulb, that didn't make it onto the string.
So a broken bulb. So that would have been
Well,
interesting.
my whole string was broken, so I had to go down to Orchard and get another string and get that all.
I can't tell you how many still lifes never happened because you had to go down to the store and then you got out of the mood. But you really want to always, if you want to become a good painter, you need to always kind of be curious about the challenge. And once you take on the challenge, you'll find inspiration in the process. And part of it is to take something that is ordinary, like what we were talking about, and doing something with it that you go, now that's interesting. That's interesting. You know, what that. And some of you find that, like when we did the potato chip painting, it's kind of like, can you really do a painting with that? And some of them were huge breakthrough paintings. Some of them were not, because people are like, who wants to paint that? And it's like, who wants to have a painting with potato chips on it? Just like who wants a Christmas ornament thing? But I've noticed that that potato chip painting has been sitting in your house all year round and you never take it down. Because the effect of light on it is extraordinary, and you don't just bring it out for lunch and put it away, you know. It's not a seasonal painting, just like this Christmas ornament was. Now, Lucy, you had a story that you had begun telling me about.
Yeah, I went to the Goodwill because I didn't want to spend a lot of money in Michael's for ornament that I had to break, you know. So I went to Goodwill and started picking here, and there. So I got a few things. So I said, see what happened. So it was so funny because I got in the house, I got in my table that I have, put a paper, wrapping paper that I have red. So I just, like Stefan, I put it everywhere in the wall. I just wrapped the whole paper, used the whole thing. And I start creating my piece, and then I got the ball and then I throw it out and it didn't break. I said, oh shoot, this thing is not breakable. So I got boom and it shattered everywhere. I said, oh no, another one. So I grabbed another one. Thank God they were for Goodwill. But it was just funny because I had to get my broom everywhere. It was full of stuff.
So you couldn't get it to break the first time, so you hit it and then it shattered.
It so hard and
Yeah.
it shattered, so I had to break another one. So I put 3.
3 of them, but since they're from the Goodwill, that's a good.
Yeah,
that was okay.
was fun. But I
It was for a
couldn't
good
break,
cause.
like, the big one that I was planning to do, I couldn't break it. It was so beautiful, like the lady who with the oil. So I did just a little, but it came out pretty good. So I just create something. And the funny thing is that when I create the still life, my husband said, don't you think that's a lot? That's a lot of work. And I said, I know. Can you take a few pieces here and there? And I said, I don't know. Let's see what happens. So anyway, that's the result, what I did, and hopefully it's a good one. I don't know how it's going to be.
Well, you know, the thing is, I know a lot of you, and it's real difficult sometimes to do these homework assignments, and I know they're really, really bizarre. But it teaches you about the story. And in the process, like you said, you were going to do a Christmas bulbs with one broken. And in that process, you start making up a story. And you have this story about breaking, and you know, we'll take a look at the painting in a sec. But art is a creative process. It's not something that is done and then created and then sell the product. It's not that way. Singing is the same way. Singing, if you just get up there and sing, it's not performing. It's just, huh?
Said our conductor would hurt you.
You hurt you. You have to be present. And while you are, the reason why they have conductors is because even at that moment, you wonder what that guy's doing up there with all of that stuff. Even while he's up there, he's listening. And in that moment, he might sit there and want to adjust things because that's how he feels right now. It's always about like right now, right now, right now. So even if you had no interest in the project, you would find some if you got started. And as soon as you start being in that zone, just like when you start listening to your voice and start singing, or when you all of a sudden are writing a story, you know, how many of you have written a letter and you go, how am I going to start? And then by an hour could go by and you're still in that first paragraph. And then all of a sudden you start going with it and you go, wow, this is great. I mean, I thought I forgot pronouns and adjectives. And it's like, and you start creating the story and you go like, you know, that's how authors work. You see them at a typewriter for hours trying to come up with some words on a page, and all of a sudden they'll finish a book. That's how painting is. And a project, any project, you have to find the curiosity within it. And Leonardo da Vinci said, to become an artist, you have to be curious. But it doesn't pay to be curious before you start. You start, and then curiosity will come. Most people have the problem with starting. And I know most of you who have started the homework assignments, finish them. Very few have started and just said, oh, this isn't worth it. You start becoming interested. The ones that don't are the ones that say, I don't want to do that. There's no possibility. And when there's no possibility, there's no art.
There was one funny part that it came probably like when I was 17 hours into the painting and I was not done yet. So, but anyway, I was just doing the background, and all of a sudden my hands start going to do something, and I get it. It was like somebody was guiding me, and then I didn't have the angel that I put over there. It was not in my still life. But it just started, and then I see the hair, and I see everything, and I say, oh my God.
Well, see, that's what the Greeks called your genius appeared.
And it was just, it's there, but it
Yeah.
wasn't there. You know?
Yeah. There's a right and left side hemisphere in your brain. And when you are in your right brain, which is the area of imagination and thought, that area is where your subconscious takes over. You know, sometimes when you're driving, you go, God, that's a good idea. You know, because your genius is kind of let loose. You're driving, your left hand, your left side of the brain's working and stuff. But your right brain's going, God, I never thought about mixing chili with hot dogs. You know, it's like, you just like go, that just seems like a good idea. And then you get home and you go, your left brain kicks in and you go, what was I thinking? Chili and hot dogs? That doesn't make sense. That would ruin it, you know. And so you see how the left brain tends to kind of close down ideas. You know, all of a sudden you think, wow, it'd be a really good idea to go dancing tonight. And your left brain goes, no, it's not. It's going to be crowded. It's going to be this. Left brain's really negative. That's the thing. That's the zone where your mom said, don't touch that. Don't do that. Don't stand up. Don't sit. That's all left brain stuff. And so you're still carrying that around. Your right brain says, let's go dance. To hell with what mother says. I'm going to go in the attic and pretend. Or go in the closet. I'm going to hold the light and pretend like I'm a go-go dancer. That's your right brain talking. It's surprising, though, when you're painting. And like this weekend, I'm working on a commission. 6 hours I was working totally left brain. Hating every brushstroke. Hating, I mean, just, this is not going anywhere. And at some point, I forgot that I was painting, like you said. And my genius showed up. Thank God.
I didn't know that.
Nothing worse doing a thing. And this is, you know, when you look at Greek art, you wonder, where did they get that? They were, and I think a lot of them were on some kind of genius drug. But the great thing about the Greeks is that they would show up every day in their studio. It was their job to go down in the studio. And they had good days and bad days. Now, how would they be responsible for a bad day? You know, because sometimes you do art, like I did, 6 hours, and nothing happens. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you come to class and it feels like you're wiping off more than you're putting on. The Greeks had it made. They go, the genius, which is an entity from the gods, it's always good to blame it on the gods, right? Especially when you have a lot of them. So your genius god sees you working and then comes into your body and you create. And that's when you're creating this thing that you have no control of. It's like somebody else is taking over your hands and you're watching. It's like Edward Scissorhands and you're watching. It's like really great. But there are other times that that's not there. So the Greeks said, I showed up in my studio, but my genius didn't. So they get a break. And it wasn't until the Renaissance where artists like Leonardo da Vinci said, no, the artist is 100% responsible. There isn't another entity. A lot of Japanese art and Chinese art is done with genius guiding the hand. So what they'll do is they'll put a piece of paper down on a flat surface, wet it, and they'll take an ink and hold the brush kind of oddly and up in the sky. And they'll make some marks. And they'll look down as if they're a third person and they're looking down. and they'll go, oh, this is what they're trying to say. And so it's like a Ouija board, and they
That's
just
what I'm
hold,
gonna say.
and it's totally right brain. And so they don't start off thinking they're going to do cranes and things. They're totally not aware of that process. They're thinking it's something, but it's all right brain process. It's all being there, but it's being in the moment and allowing to let go. And some of you are such control freaks. You don't want to let go. You're not curious enough to see what happens if the ink bleeds around. You go, oh, gotta wipe it up, gotta wipe it up. Instead of maybe that's your genius telling you, you need to do a nice big black spot and go with it. And with you, the angels appeared. How do you know an angel didn't say, put an angel in it?
No, it just started, I swear, it was so beautiful. I even told my sisters, it was like somebody was guiding me, and I was so happy because it looks great to me.
That's when painting is art. That's when it is.
That happened
I would
days
say
ago.
singers like Barbara Streisand, they're totally unaware that they're singing. It comes from inside and it becomes their being, and and they're in the moment, and they'll vibrate their voice. They'll say, authors, hours will go by. When you're in that zone, you could paint. Some of you said that. All of a sudden, it's 9 o'clock at night, and your spouse is saying, "Where's dinner? Where's dinner?" That's when your genius is taking over, your right brain. You lose all sense of time, self. You all of a sudden realize, wow, I really got to pee. And you barely can you wonder how you could sit there for 4 hours, and yet you can't go from that chair to the bathroom. You had to go so bad, but you were totally unaware of it because this part of your brain had taken over. Artistic genius. So I'm glad it showed up for you.
That's what is happening now, thanks to you.
Yeah, well, that's just what happens. I'm glad to be a coach. Any questions about that?